Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 174, which is called A New World Part 1. And this was a pretty interesting chapter. Obviously the discussion about what exactly Peter Rattray did was revealed to be basically, yeah, he did what we thought it was. There was some speculation about, something else might have happened, but no, they committed to it. He did stab himself, so it was nice that they kind of just, committed to that in a way that, like, that's actually arguably, like, one of the more surprising things that this manga does, given that it tends to twist things a lot fairly recently. I was worried about, like, midway through the chapter when they were talking about, like, we're going to go away and figure out all the rest of this stuff and then come back, because it feels like we are on the countdown to the ending. And if we did have to, have another mission to go here and there. But then I remembered that, only Peter Rattray got the message from the capital about, like, Luvis coming in and all that sort of stuff. The kids actually don't know about that yet. So that's what the next chapter is going to be covering. It's that the soldiers that are coming to attack them here or come at them aren't necessarily, like, by default enemies, in that I think it is going to be the sort of surprise thing of, like, he will want to talk. Now the question is obviously going to be, is it going to be a negotiation about, like, what way the world should be right now? Should the promise be changed from the way it is now? Should Emma change the promise from her perspective idea that she has? Again, we don't know. Or is it actually going to be a conflict with Luvis as the final boss? I think, based on his appearance a few chapters ago, I don't think he's going to be a villain in all of this. I think there will be some discussion about, like, maybe the promise as Emma considers it, or as she negotiated already, it might be changed, but I don't really feel that we quite have the space almost left in the series to really have more conflict after just the way things have gone. Some nice Isabella stuff in this chapter as well, but I think it's best to start going through the chapter here to get into the details. So first page immediately confirms it, the whole idea. Emma, let's live together, but he just says, fools, a position in life isn't something one can can easily throw away. I choose to die here as a Rattray. And he does indeed cut himself across the neck with the knife. We see his eyes closing. We see that he has completely cut his neck open, and the kids are trying to sort of keep him alive. And his sort of last thoughts here are, why are you trying to save me? Why do you Why do you at me look like that? I don't know if that's just, why do you at me look like that? Yeah, it is actually worded that badly. Is it just that, like, they're writing in him that way because he's dying and he can't put the words together properly? Or is that just a bad, like, translation, badly written or whatever? Why do you look at me like that? So I'm not sure about that. That's just a weird one. Completely distracted me just reading that out loud and being like, that's not how it sounds. But either way, we cut back to the line that Emma said a chapter or two ago. If you were born in Grace Field, could we have been friends? And Peter Rattray is now sort of considering that, and we get a sort of flashback, a sort of a visualization of this, of all the kids when they were younger, and a young Peter Rattray sort of there with them. And he sort of, you get the impression here as he is dying that, like, maybe it was a possibility, but he says to himself, of course not. Never. Don't bother. I'm done. The new world you're about to create is too bright for me. And then we cut to this interesting sort of, I suppose, inner dialogue type thing. Again, because the one's powers are so unclear, it's hard to know what exactly is going on. I assume this is some level of, like, communicating with him psychically. So the one seems to actually communicate with Rattray as he dies here. And he just says, I was able to enjoy this for longer than I expected. And he sort of reaches out to him in a way, and he just says, well done for 1,000 years. And as we cut back, it is the death of Peter Rattray. He goes limp, all of the kids react, clearly, his heart has stopped beating at this point, he is dead. And again, we get the line reiterated from before: the human world isn't any different. Try it if you can. And so Emma sort of wipes tears away from her eyes here, and she just says, "Watch us. We'll find it for sure. A life where we can live happily with our family." And then, with obviously the threat in this facility done with, we of course go back to actually talking. Now, Isabella can actually talk to Emma and the other kids, and that's what we get done here. And Isabella says, "So, Emma and all of you, what do you plan to do now?" And in a way, this line from Emma was the thing I was a bit worried about, like, are they kind of extending the story out kind of more than it needs to be here with this one? We're going to retreat for now. There's still 2,000 Imperial soldiers and we have other stuff we need to do. Again, I wasn't really considering the idea that, like, oh yeah, the kids don't know about what happened with Sanju and Mujika and Luvis. Only Peter Rattray heard that over the radio. So the kids still think those Imperial soldiers kind of are in a kind of different situation. But we know now that they actually have a leader who kind of thinks about things differently. But anyway, so Isabella's kind of shocked by this, and Emma continues, "But I'm glad, because I wanted to talk to you once we got to Grace Field. Let's go to the human world." And Isabella's shocked by this. "Once everything is over, you should come with us." And we cut back to the promise that was made. "I want all the children to go to the human world." So that is one part of the promise that we know about. All means the children who grew up to. So her clarifying with the one that means everyone, like basically every cattle children, regardless of like age and so on. So she's making sure to clarify this in case the one is one of these people who takes it very literally. Okay, children, that only means young people. Can you clarify the age? That sort of thing. I've already made the promise with the one for it to be that way. Of course, that's only if you want to. Once everything is done and the promise is implemented, Mom, the sisters, and the adults and the children of the other farms, we can all go to the human world. And the other moms are beginning to react at this point. "You're going to forgive us after what we did?" Isabella doesn't talk, and they're like, "Yeah, well, but..." And Isabella answers for sort of everyone, "We'll stay here. We appreciate your offer, but we're..." And Ray speaks up, and this is where you realize that, like, wow, Ray has really not had a lot to do in this series for the last while. He has really just been there supporting Emma and Norman in what's been going on here. And especially because he is actually like Isabella's son, that's why they chose this moment to have him speak out. But it is kind of amazing that, like, he really hasn't been up to much recently, and he is one of the main three characters. "Get over it already. You were sick of this, right? If you have any regrets, take care of them in the human world. I'm glad I'm alive. It's because I'm alive that I can atone for my sins and clear my conscience. It's fine. No one will resent anyone. We're not holding grudges. So let's go. All of you with us." "Yeah, let's go," the kids kind of pipe up at this point. We see Gilda saying, "Come on, Mom," and everyone kind of gets behind her. They all rush towards her and the other moms, and they hug them. And, we get a nice scene here of kind of showing the flashback. It should have been so painful. You must have been so shocked. You were betrayed by your mother in the most horrific way, and now you're all trembling. But why? How could you forgive me? And this is where we get, I suppose, the one scene that seems to reference the fact that, like, Isabella is actually, like, Ray's mother, of just him humming the song that she knows from the past and so on. "I'm sorry. I've been sorry for so long." And we see Isabella in tears hugging some of the kids. "I'm sorry, and thank you, everyone." And this is ultimately, I think, meant to be the full sort of resolution in a way of Isabella's arc. She made the right decision in the end in siding against Peter Rattray and helping the kids. And here she is sort of being forgiven by the kids, being allowed to come with them to have a better life in the human world. Because one thing I feel that's been done very well over the last few chapters has been making sure to clarify and get into the details of the fact that all of the moms have had the exact same experience as the kids, that they grew up in this way and only took the role because they had to survive, and it was either choose death or survive by being a mom, and it was this harsh decision from another point of view. they have to deal with so much more than, you know, other people in some ways. And again, they did the same thing with the Ratri clan, again from a different perspective of like, they're also cursed because of the position that they're in the world. And we saw that with Peter Ratri, unable to sort of move himself away from the fact that he is a member of the Ratri clan. But anyway, we move on, and Emma says, then it's settled, just a little longer. Once we finish everything, we'll come back here. Until then, Gracefield will continue to operate, and Isabella says, we'll be waiting. Don't worry. The demons and the Ratri clan servants don't know about our betrayal yet. We'll handle it. Leave Gracefield to us. We'll take care of Phil and the others, and we'll deal with the demons too. So the first mention of Phil in a while, so very casually brought up. So I don't get the impression that there is going to be this like massive Phil reveal that I think everyone was almost expecting at certain points of like the whole section when we were focused on the Queen, when we were focused on Peter Ratri. Both those have come and gone without Phil coming up as like a major plot point. So, but still, it's kind of weird that like Phil is like one of the only characters who we really haven't seen yet. So like, where is he? Like, what's going on? So is there something significant with him or not? And the fact that it's Isabella who mentions it as well. So that's kind of weird. So the Phil mystery continues in many ways, so that's kind of unusual. But yeah, we see this kind of flashback panel. I want to release all of the children. I want to get rid of all the farms and create a world where no children are eaten. We can reach it. It's so close now. So that's the goal. That's the aim. And it seems to be able to come true at this point, since Luvis is all for the idea of distributing Sanju Majika's blood amongst the population and changing the way things are, so there's no need for the humans to be eaten. So we'll see what happens going forward. So Isabella says, be careful, and she just says, yeah, we'll be back soon. Okay, we're going. And then on the last 2 pages is when they sort of change things up a little bit. So we go outside, it's like, Sizzla, we're going to evacuate. Is everything okay on the outside? Everything's fine, or it was. I don't really understand. The Imperial soldiers are on the move. They're all leaving and heading towards the outer bridge. And so this shocks everyone, and like we see the demons are coming in many ways. And Hayato freaks out on the inside. Reinforcements, they're going to attack us. We should run now. And they're all like, wait. Like one of the moms like has her kind of tablet thing out there and says, wait, look at this. Notice, a message from the Imperial capital to all citizens. And they're like, huh? So this is that truth coming out to, I suppose, everyone. Again, we don't know what exact way it's going to be worded. Is it going to be the exact same message that Peter Ratri got? I assume so. And this is how it's going to turn from what seems to be a conflict and like everyone needing to kind of go somewhere to actually, no, the demons are coming there. This immediately takes out, I suppose, a need to travel necessarily. I don't know if they're going to confirm that like Sanju, Majika, and Luvis are with this group now or what. Or like I suppose the question is like, are these soldiers like, do they know about what happened, or are like they still enemy soldiers now? Again, that's one of the other confusing things. I assume they had some sort of communicator and something like that going on, so they likely do know. So I think we'll all be surprised when the next chapter starts that like the tension isn't as high as you would expect. It's more confusion, I suppose, on all sides about the fact that things are actually more going in the direction of a negotiation than anything. So that will be interesting, and it might take a chapter or two to just figure out stop all of the fighting, but I think we are absolutely getting towards the sort of end, final negotiations, final discussions. It will be like Luvis revealing himself to, you know, Emma and the Goldie Pond kids, like, shock, I haven't been killed, but I'm different now type thing. So that will be very, very interesting once that all comes out. Beyond that, it's obviously hard to speculate because this manga seems to just be an expert at constantly going against your expectations and doing something a little bit different. But just based again on the chapter title, A New World Part 1, it feels like we're mere chapters away from actually going to the human world and actually like activating a lot of the plot points that have been in play for, at this point, a very long time. Like the promise we heard about so long ago in terms of it actually being made, it's definitely around time to finally get into that. Now, is there more complexity with Luvis and what he wants to do and what he wants to accomplish? Perhaps. We'll see just how different he is and what's really driving him at this point. But I feel we're, for the most part, past the conflict with the demons. And if there is any final conflict left in the series, it is going to be the kids sort of just dealing with how the human world actually is and the way things actually are. So that's going to be the interesting one. Again, the main thing with the promise is probably like, is it fine what they have already, or is there a need to actually like alter it based on new facts that have come into light? Does the promise that they have right now, is it too focused on just like saving humans and not enough on sort of creating maybe equality between humans and demons? That's the main, I suppose, dynamic that's going on here. But yeah, like I said, it's an interesting chapter. I like the emotional Isabella stuff of just the kids being completely willing to forgive the moms now that they understand the position that they were in. Again, I suppose we're in time enough removed from it that the initial pain of them finding out that she's in on this, now that they know the full story, it doesn't hit as hard. The Peter Rattray thing was maybe a little quickly done, but at the same time, I get what they were going for here, of just, you know, it's this sort of sad thing in a way of like, if he was any different as a character, he might have taken the opportunity to go with them and change for the better, but he sticks to his guns, and especially with the backstory that we got last week about how he, even among himself, just himself and his brother, was always the one who was loyal to the clan above all else. And in the end, he couldn't remove himself from his clan, from his, you know, destiny in a way. And in a way, yes, the curse, you know, took him, basically. The curse of what the promise is right now took him. And, you know, I like the little edge to the idea of, you know, the new world you're about to create is too bright for me. That there's a slight sense of, you know, like, I'm not good enough to be in this new world. And then the one coming into things that little bit more, like we've now been teased with him in a handful of panels over the last while. It does really feel like we're finally going to get into, okay, here he is as a character, here's what his goal in all of this is. Who is he as a being, and why is he so powerful, and what's his, you know, role in all of this? That's what we really want to know now, and it's probably about time to finally get into that stuff. So yeah, very good chapter. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this week's chapter. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.